Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wayne Lou. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting needs. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen or follow the link through the description of the episode. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty annoyed after this one. I know the last game I was pretty annoyed at the referee. Whatever. Raptors fought hard against the Knicks. They lost. It happens. This game, after several days off, after getting time to practice, after the Raptors get probably the luckiest draw out of anybody in the association when it comes to rescheduling the NBA Cup games, they get a free trip to Miami. They got a bonus trip to Miami. They go down there, but what's the big talk beforehand? It was like Josh Lewinberg asking Darko at practice, "Hey Darko, how do you improve on your road record?" Which coming into this one was 1-11. And Darko's answer was swag. We got to be able to play with swag. The way that we played against Dallas, the way that we played against the Knicks, we weren't afraid of them. We need to bring that on the road with us. And he said, I'll make sure our guys pack it in the bags, which obviously is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. I didn't see no swag tonight. I saw swag maybe in the first half. I saw swag maybe the first 12, 15 minutes that they played. And then I just saw a team just like deflate. And yeah, you can say that there was no Scottie Barnes. Yeah, you can say that this team has been bad on the road all season. And yeah, you could always, anything bad that happens this season, you could just say, well, they're tanking. This is good for the tank, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if you're interested in meaningless basketball, this was it. Raptors lose tonight, 114-104 against Miami. Just a bad performance. Again, like, I think we can distinguish a couple of things. You can make things meaningful. First off, you can always make things meaningful by choice, right? But you can make losses meaningful even if there's development in those losses, if you're competing in those losses, if you force your opponent to play you in a way that, makes them compete and respect you. You know what I didn't see a lot of tonight? Jimmy Butler. Only time you saw Jimmy Butler tonight was when they talked about, well, the trade requests and the stuff with his agent in the on Twitter. And, you will look at he changed his hair color again, and that might indicate where he wants to go. But you know what the camera kept showing? Jimmy Butler on the bench with the warm-up on. Because guess what? They didn't even need Jimmy Butler tonight. They barely needed most games. Like, honestly, like the Heat didn't even play a good game. Bam was there for like 5 minutes where he randomly went off against Jakob in the fourth quarter. Cool. But like it wasn't like Miami was playing all out. Miami didn't have to play zone. Like for most of the game, they didn't even play zone. They're like, yeah, it's fine. I know that's what we do. But like the Raptors never even put them into any other pressure other than the first start of the game. And that to me, it was just like, it's annoying. It's annoying that you get a chance to play an NBA basketball game and you come out with this type of like lack of focus, lackadaisical effort. Like, you got me sound like Alvin Williams over here. Like, no offense to Boogie, love you, Boogie, but like, no, seriously, like, what is going on? This game just lacked any intensity, lacked cohesion, lacked execution for the majority of the second half. Where Miami again just didn't sweat, and And this is the thing. It's frustrating because the Raptors have not approached the season this way. They have not played this way. They've lost plenty of games. Again, they're 1-12 on the road now. The record on the road doesn't even bother me, right? Because a lot of the times they've gone on the road and they competed, they fought, they scrapped. Even last game, they went to Miami. Obviously, Scottie was involved in that one. They lost that one, whatever. But they still did a good job. I know this team can play well against Miami. I know RJ's can play well against Miami. He's had 2 really good games against Miami. Tonight, really struggled. And we'll get into that in a second. But just overall, like, just felt like a waste of time. This honestly, like, maybe the reason I'm annoyed is because I'm the part of this season, and I know a third of the season has gone by, and the Raptors obviously are well on their way to a really good pick this year, which might ultimately, again, be the main goal of the season. Whatever. You want to say that, that's fine. But you cannot make these games meaningless. And that's what's been so refreshing to start the season is these guys have fought, they've scrapped, they've competed, they forced even really good teams to give you their A game to at least lose. And then at least I can come back on the pod here and be like, well, you know what? They fought hard. You know what? They you look at this, like, in the future, you clean up a couple here things here or there, you upgrade this or this guy gets stronger. You know what I mean? Like you could tell yourself stories after you see a good fight. Didn't see a good fight tonight. I saw a lot of isolation basketball, which I didn't understand. Jamal Shed holding the ball for the whole possession. I know it's not his fault because like other guys got to cut to get open. They got to execute. You know what I mean? Like Jamal Shed's clearly not an ISO player. Multiple possessions. He had the ball the whole game, the whole possession, and then ended up throwing up like a contested floater. Like I didn't know what was with the Raptors tonight. The fact that the Raptors were not first to the loose balls against a Miami Heat team that several possessions to start literally the first or second possession to start the second half, after the Raptors already closed the first half on just like a pathetic run, right? It was like 24 to like 7 or something like that. Basically, the Raptors had a double-digit lead. They were cruising, and then they gave it all up immediately. And the end of the first half was already unprofessional enough. RJ Barrett, 3 turnovers in 4 possessions. After that, every single player, the Raptors miscommunicating, leaving Heat shooters wide open, one after the other. Like literally, the Heat scored went on like a 12-0 run in the last minute of the first half. It was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing there? Okay, fine. You go into halftime. Maybe Darko yells, but he's like, hey, we got to bring our swag. What was the swag in the second half? Second half, multiple possessions where like one Heat versus like 3-4 Raptors, and they're winning second, third, chances at the jump ball, at the loose ball, at the rebound. It's annoying. And then you see the Raptors come out like, okay, yeah, you don't have Scottie, but like, where was the force going downhill? Like occasionally you saw it at times, right? You saw Davion Mitchell take a strong to the basket. I thought he actually played a lot of discipline tonight. And he played with a lot of want to. Didn't really have a lot of other guys following him tonight. You saw when Ochai got that, cutting dunk, which was great. Ended up dunking all over Jakob Poeltl because Bam Adebayo pushed Jakob into Ochai airborne, but Ochai just ended up postering him. That was cool. But like otherwise, not a lot of downhill pressure. I mean, the Raptors just content to sit out there and bomb from 3. Grady Dick launching like fading corner threes with his feet barely in bounds. Like, I know he's a great 3-point shooter, and I know that's like, what this team needs from him. But like 3 bad shots in a row from the same corner, like, you know what I mean? It's just, I didn't see a purpose to this game tonight. I didn't see enough purpose from the Raptors, and I certainly didn't see the swag that Darko Rakic was talking about. We need to go on the run and play with swag. This wasn't swag. It's not swag when we have half the broadcast where Matt Devlin's talking about, the color of Jimmy Butler's hair and trade requests and storylines off the court. And once in a while being like, oh, they're right, they're playing aggressive. It's like, no, they got one steal to make it a 10-point game with a minute left. That's not aggressive. So seriously, genuinely an annoying game because I know the Raptors have a lot better than this. This felt like last season when towards the end of the year, when everyone's just like gearing up and they're like, we know we're not making the playoffs. We know we're not even making the play-in. We know a lot of guys are in and out, and a lot of guys just like did not play a good game. And I know the score isn't that lopsided, but I'm here to tell you that Miami did not play a good game here tonight. Seriously, they showed up to play maybe for like 10, 15 minutes. Obviously they made a great push. Like I'm not saying that wasn't good basketball, but I've seen Miami play a lot better than this. And it's just, and at least last year you could say, well, whatever, we're playing with randoms. Like Garrett Temple is going to play some backup center for us, and like we're going to sign Malik Williams off the road, and he's going to start at center tonight against Minnesota, the number 1 pick or number 1 team in the East and in the West at that time, and we're going to start him and we're going to lose by 48, a franchise record. We're at home and we have no one to guard Zion and they beat us by 40. It's like, okay, all right, whatever. Like, Jordan Ward's in the starting lineup. You know what I mean? Like Javon Freeman Liberty, like a lot of that stuff. So it's like, okay, I get it because those guys weren't invested. We knew we were going to flush like 90% of those guys, or at least we're not going to play them. Maybe Garrett sticks around, but obviously he's not going to be in the rotation. These guys should be invested. These guys are all going to be here long term. I mean, maybe outside of a couple of vets, maybe, but like these are all long-term guys, and I just didn't think they set a good tone for themselves tonight. And again, it's disappointing because all season they have played hard, they have played together, they have played a team basketball game, and they have at least pushed it. Yeah, if the Raptors led or competed and Miami sort of came back and forth and, you know what I mean, like hung with them for a while, that will be okay with me. And if they lose, that's okay with me. I'd be happy to come on here and talk about this guy did a good job. This guy did a good job. Tactically here, this happened. Obviously down the stretch, they miscommunicated a couple times or didn't have the execution here or there, or defense collapsing on RJ and other guys can score, or RJ couldn't finish over whatever. Like I'm happy to do that. I've done like 10 of those episodes already this season. But what you can give me is this whatever this mess was, and just expect to like come on every game and be like, oh, I gotta applaud. I mean, wow, Grady Dick with 21 points after missing like 5 straight threes that were wide open. It's like, all right, cool, man. Like, what happened on the defensive end? I feel like he gave up 20 points just another way too. So a lot. That's just like, this is just bad, honestly. And I think for the Raptors, like, yeah, I know that a young team will struggle to play on the road, especially without their best player. Like I know that, but I've seen better efforts than this, and this was disappointing. So we got to start with RJ Barrett. 13 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. I'm not gonna say it was like Ben Uzo's triple double or anything, but like, I mean, it's basically that. Like 5 of 18 from the field for RJ. The thing for me wasn't necessarily the shooting efficiency. Obviously, that's not good. But it felt like he started taking himself out of the game. I thought the way he started this game was actually quite good. It felt like, there's been more of a conversation around his defense. Obviously, he's played a lot this season. He's had some really high highs. He's had some pretty low lows. This is among those low lows, right? But at the same time, it's like, you know what? And I'll have a conversation coming out tomorrow on tomorrow's episode where I talked to Cash and Wolf on over at the Score. And we actually did a whole, more detailed 3-person conversation about RJ. And the main point of contention for us was just, I need RJ to be better on defense. And you know what? The start of this game, a lot of good stuff from RJ on defense, which I thought was great, right? One of the first plays of it's all within the first 3 minutes of the game. You got a steal in the paint, led to a fast break, Raptors scored. You got a block at the rim, help side coming over. It wasn't like a blocking into the stands or nothing. Kept the ball inbounds. Grady goes the other way, actually drove it end-to-end for a dunk. That was great. He had another play where he was pressuring Haywood Highsmith off, just around the halfway mark, ends up stripping the ball off of Haywood Highsmith, goes out of bounds. He's right in front of Darko, and they give each other an enthusiastic high five. I'm like, oh, that's that swag they're talking about. I love it. They must have emphasized more on RJ's defense. And another play where the Heat threw a lob over the top to Jimmy Butler, who was getting fronted by RJ. RJ gets back into the play, fights to get back in the play, strips it, and knocks it off of Butler. Like, that leads to a Grady Dick 3 going the other way. I was like, this is great, because now we have evidence that RJ, when he's focused and when he wants to, has some defensive impact. Like, obviously, that's like 4 plays in a row where he was able to be in the right position, and of course, maybe the offensive player wasn't necessarily expecting that type of intensity. Whatever it was, also so start of the first, start of the game. So like, you know what I mean? Like, intensity was never like right like that to start the game. Fine, whatever. But still, want to give him full credit. Those were great defensive plays. The rest of the game, didn't see that again. Right? Guys, going past him. I think the transition defense is something that's particularly noticeable, right? Because RJ obviously is a guy who primarily drives to the basket. Tonight, when he drove to the basket and it missed, it was almost always a fast break going the other way for Miami. And that's where it's like, it's extra painful when he goes 5 of 18 from the field, because there's a lot of these transition breaks. The next time you really saw RJ getting back on defense really hard, he was chasing the referee because he got a no call on a play that he got fouled on. Like, I'm not saying that a man can't have an emotion, but like, especially when he's wrong, because he didn't get a foul call. But it's like, he runs straight back to the referee and takes the tech, and that actually stopped the fast break. Honestly, the referee should have, given him an advantage, play on, and then come back and get the tech. But whatever, I'm fine with the ref stopping the game. But it's like, that effort sort of like dissipated. Otherwise, I thought offensively, RJ tried a lot of things, but he just really couldn't get it going at the basket. 2 or 3 players were usually there to meet him around the rim. He probably was a little bit unlucky with his finishing. A lot of plays he could have been a little bit closer on. He tried a mid-range pull-up that didn't go in. He tried a little, I think it was on a fast break, he pulled up for a floater. That must be something that they're working on, because all season we've seen RJ take a strong to the rack, especially in transition. So for him to pull up with a floater, I think that's kind of noticeable. I think that they're clearly trying to work on that with him. Triple double is good. Again, like, nobody else was really. Somebody needed to drive the ball and at least create some offense for the team. And RJ was able to sort of take it into the paint and kick it out. And those things are good. Like, those, like, I'm not going to downplay 10 assists, but at the same time, like, I think his own offense needed to be there a little bit more. And of course, like, when he has these plays where he drives to the basket and he misses, he's falling over and the transition's going the other way, and the Raptors are sort of, in a deficit. Actually, the same thing used to be the exact same thing used to be the case with DeMar DeRozan. DeMar used to, go to the strong, go to the hole strong. I would say DeMar had more finesse maybe going to the basket than RJ. RJ probably takes it more straight line drive at the rim and goes a little bit stronger to the rim. Of course, DeMar also had that crazy athleticism to dunk on guys, but RJ has a bit of that too. Maybe not to the full extent of DeMar, because DeMar's got a crazy catalog of posters. Just ask Chris Boucher, for example, or Rudy Gobert, or actually, I mean, DeMar's got like just a crazy catalog of dunks. You know what I mean? So like, RJ's not quite on that level, although he's got a couple of like pretty good ones as well. But regardless, like in those opportunities where he falls over or he gets into the paint and he can't pick the right pass and it's a live ball turnover, like it just felt like a lot of transition going back the other way. RJ actually ended up being a +4 on the night. So this is actually one of the Raptors' better players. But of course, expectations are a lot higher when you're the main featured player, when, defenses are obviously, looking mostly on you, and the Raptors are also mostly looking at RJ. Obviously, he played a better game tonight. Game could have been closer. At least maybe Jimmy Butler might have played, I don't know, some minutes in the fourth quarter. Other than that, Grady, I thought, went off to a great start. Super aggressive. Again, he took an end-to-end for a one-handed dunk, which was really nice. He drove baseline, got fouled, which was really nice. He, as always, is super aggressive with the three, which was cool. Aggressive from the mid-range as well. I think that was the first basket of the game for the Raptors, was Grady coming off the mid-range. So all those things were good. The weird thing with the starting unit, by the way, was that Jakob Poeltl didn't start with them for this game. Apparently he tweaked his back either in warmups or even just like, because warmups happen in two phases. How am I doing a warmup report if I wasn't even on the road? But like, there's the pregame warmups where guys come out, get their individual work in, usually one or two guys at a time, and then they sort of take shifts, and that goes from like T minus 2.5 hours before the game to like maybe 45 minutes before the game. And then they go back to the locker room, they get a couple more, I don't know, they eat a little bit of food, they get a little bit of pregame talk, all that kind of stuff. And then they come back out for the layup line. Jakob must have got hurt in the layup line or something, because like that, the fact that he was not going to be able to start a lineup at least was only reported like literally right before the game started. So Bruno Fernando started this game. But then after 2 minutes, Jakob Poeltl comes into the game and just plays no problem. Ends up playing 27 minutes anyway off the bench for Jakob. Probably the only time Jakob all season will come off the bench. Must be the first time in years too. The official diagnosis prognosis was that he had tweaked his back. So he was getting stretched out. He was getting warmed up. You did see him wearing a heated sort of like belt around his waist. So hopefully that's not a recurring issue, because we just lost, for example, Kelly Olynyk for like 6 weeks due to back spasms, right? So you just certainly don't want to see that with Jakob, who has been one of the Raptors' best players all season. Maybe the physicality wasn't fully there for Jakob tonight in terms of like even the rebounding, for example, only 4. That's for Jakob. He's typically like all over the glass, right? So if there's one guy I don't blame for sort of the lack of intensity tonight, it'd be Jakob, because they had the back issues. So hopefully those things are okay. Luckily, there's a lot of time off here. Raptors have a pretty light schedule until roughly the week of Christmas. So, just get your back right. Same thing with Scottie. Get your ankle right. Didn't see him in a boot on the sideline, so that's already a pretty promising sign. It seems like they're going to evaluate after about a week or so. So, but like, yeah, I mean, that you need other guys to bring that intensity for you. I thought Mogbo, he got the start tonight. I think honestly, Mogbo did a decent job of guarding Jimmy Butler. Like, I think there's certainly something to be said for the way he's able to be disruptive, and then he's also able to stay down and disciplined. The one play that probably everyone fawned over the most was there was a baseline out of bounds play for Jimmy Butler where he was sort of posting up against Mogbo. The pass came over the top to Jimmy. Mogbo first, he deflected the pass, so that already burned like 2-3 seconds off the clock. Jimmy had to go out to the 3-point line to get it. Then when trying to go back one-on-one against Mogbo, he did a great job of cutting off Jimmy's drive. Then when Jimmy gets his drive cut off, he usually likes to go for an up fake that typically lifts the defender. Mogbo instead just stays down, uses his height and length, knowing that he's bigger than Jimmy, and then forced Jimmy into a contested fadeaway that was an air ball. That was like a really impressive stop. And there were other moments where I thought Mogbo did a really good job guarding Jimmy. Jimmy primarily got his at the free throw line. He went 5 of 8 from the foul line. But also at the same time, I think this is something that's been a pattern with Mogbo in terms of like he's been able to get these like impressive stops, right? He's not always matched up on these guys. A lot of times he's the big, so he's more in help position rather than guarding the ball. But you saw, for example, he had a really great defensive stand against Luka Doncic. He had a really good defensive stand, against DeMar DeRozan in one of those Kings matchups. He just has these kind of moments where he's able to sort of like, be disruptive. there was someone else that was really impressive that I forget. It was on one of the road trips. But regardless, like, this is something that he can do. Offensively, I felt like he couldn't really find his place in this one. He did a great job of rebounding the ball, 10 rebounds. That was good to see. But at the same time, like, I just feel like he continues to sort of play in these sort of two big lineups, whether that's between him and Jakob or between him and Kelly. And that, I think, has sort of made life just a little bit more complicated for him. It's a little bit easier when you're the big on the floor because you're involved in the screens, and then you're either slipping out, or for him, he's not really popping out, so he's mostly slipping out, whether he's short rolling or going hard to the basket. Some of those sort of actions are almost prescripted for you. You know what I mean? Like they're pretty robotic in certain ways. They're at the same time, though, like, when he's playing on the wing, when he has to sort of like play make a little bit, and when he has to sort of initiate a little bit of action, like, that stuff for me is just like, that's still pretty far ways away. In fact, if there was any season really to sort of develop that and try to showcase that, it probably would be this season. But I feel like that probably could even happen with 905 time if he does ever go down this year again, or if he, I guess if the season's really lost and we have like a string of these games in March or April, then okay, fine, give him those reps to try to create for himself. But right now, it still feels like, okay, he got relatively comfortable playing small ball 5, and now he's playing more of the wing, and that's been a little more difficult. But defensively, it is impressive. I have to add the caveat, like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I just do have to add the caveat that Jimmy never looked that aggressive all night. And then this is not the first time this has happened against the Raptors this season, or just maybe in general. Again, something weird's happening with Jimmy, and clearly we've seen on the news. But like, still, I thought Mogbo did a good job in the moments where he was called upon. When Jimmy was aggressive, he was there to meet up the task. Ochai, I feel like it's so interesting with Ochai because, like, he's definitely surpassed expectations for me on this season. I feel like part of being successful is that people start moving the bar on you. And I want to acknowledge that, like, coming into the year, based on what I expected out of Ochai, he's already surpassed that. So that's good. Like, this level of player is already much better than what it was last season. So, you can always say that, like, that's good or that's enough. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from you, because I think that's undeniably true. But again, there's these moments where I'm just like, now I want to see more. Okay, now I know that you can be a threat in transition. Now I know you can be a threat even off the dribble sometimes, where you're coming off these dribble handoffs, and usually he's getting guarded by like the fifth best defender on the floor. But whatever, like, when he gets these chances to be featured on offense, he takes it strong to the basket. Obviously, he took it really strong to the basket when he dunked. That was really cool. Those things are all good. And again, the box scores look solid. Like, apparently he's got strong win shares, which is hard to do on a team that's losing a lot, because win shares is tied to how many wins you actually have, or the fact that his efficiency is good. Like tonight, for example, 6-8 from the field for 13 points. That's really good. But there's also these moments where I'm just like Tyler Hero, for example. Hero is giving the Raptors real issues, right? Now, he goes 9 of 13 from the field for 23 points. But even beyond that, he's a plus 30. And, Ochai was tasked to guard Hero a lot of the game. And I know Hero's been on one this season. He might even make the All-Star game this season. He's genuinely playing at a really high level. But for example, the play where he gets crossed up and ends up having to close out foul as Tyler Hero goes up for a 4-point play and he makes it, right? If you go back and watch it, and I did go back and watch it even in real time, because I'm like, how did he get that much separation? It's the same thing I keep talking about. He doesn't get tight to Hero. And I know Hero's got like a handle, whatever, but it's like, I'm not exactly asking him to be tight to, like, Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? Like, certain guys you don't want to press up on. You gotta give them a gap. But like, the Heat did a decent job. I mean, it's nothing like super innovative. Like, Spo is certainly a great coach, but it's also pretty standard stuff to set a higher step up screen sometimes for your shooters or just any drivers to be able to get downhill. So the Heat were setting these screens that were higher, which, like, where the whole purpose was to sort of get their guards some more space. But he doesn't get tight to Tyler Hero, right? Then that screen comes. Now he's a step behind. Now he's trying to recover and get back into the play. Then Tyler Hero snatches back. Ochai has to react to that. He's a step late. Then he closes out hard and ends up fouling Hero, and Hero makes the shot. All that's impressive. But none of that happens if you're pressed up on him to begin with. And it's like, the offense is cool. Like, the offense is honestly, like, it's cool. Like, it's needed, and this team certainly can use other guys who can go to the basket. And Ochai's using the athleticism. Those things are good. But like, that that to me is just like a defensive mistake that like a guy like Davion wouldn't make necessarily. Like Davion might still get beat by Hero, but not in that kind of fashion, right? And the thing was me was just like probably 5-6 minutes later, there's the same sequence where he was coming up and he gave him the same gap in the same space again. So it's like I don't know. Like again, I'm fully. It was we're already getting our money's worth with Ochai. Like there's no doubting about that. But also at the same time, when you show me a lot, now all of a sudden like you're going to expect more and more, right? So like I think for Ochai, he could have done a better job defensively. Is what I'm trying to say, especially for a guy who's a defensive stopper. Grady defensively, I mean, honestly, Grady tonight felt like on tilt. Like he was gambling with the shot, like he was hunting for it, but he was also kind of forcing it at certain times. And he was pretty insistent, for example, on making certain shots. And then on defense, there's like was like you got to be able to guard someone, right? Like it's the same thing as Ochai last year offensively. You got to be able to score on someone, right? You got to be at least be able to good on as a fifth option, right? And I think Ochai's done that this year. That's all good. Grady, like you got to be able to at least guard somebody, man. If Nikola Jovic is driving past you like straight point blank, come on. There's got to be more personal responsibility that comes with that. That's not like, oh, he's too weak, whatever. It's just like, no, it's the same thing as RJ. The focus wasn't there. And for the whole team, I'm just like, the focus wasn't there. Kelly Olynyk comes off the bench. He had a good first game. He knocked down 3 threes. Since then, it's been a real struggle. The bench offense looks a little confused at certain moments. Tonight, the bench offense was super confused because Jakob came off the bench. But still, like, eventually that rotation sort of, managed itself. Kelly tonight, he got the 2 steals, basically. Like, he were throwing some sloppy passes. He ended up in the right places. Cool. But, like, outside of a transition alley-oop that he threw to Mogbo, which, again, was, like, a pretty straightforward play. And it's a nice pass. And honestly, I'm not trying to hate. But, like, wasn't very effective. 0 of 6 from the field. 0 of 3 from 3. Wasn't necessarily able to sort of create great offense for the second unit. I feel like the second unit needs more time to get used to him. He's certainly he's a bit of a weird player in the sense that, like, it's hard to predict what he's going to do. He obviously has the ball a little bit more than most bigs, and will take it off the dribble and will shoot it and all that kind of stuff. But, like, yeah, just didn't feel like he had much synergy with that second unit tonight when he did play with them. And then, in terms of energy and effort, like I'm not expecting Kelly Olynyk to like lock down the paint or anything like that. I mean, he's 34 years old. He's been in the league a long time, and he wasn't a strong defender for most of that anyway. But I mean, at the same time, you are still replacing Chris. Like Chris was giving you crazy energy going up and down the court. Now, of course, like some of that was misguided. It happens. Neither player is a perfect player, but didn't feel like Kelly had a great impact. Jamison Battle, I'm happy he got more minutes again because because of the fact that other guys had come in and Jakob kind of jumped him in the pecking order, for example. His minutes have come down. He even just didn't even get called up for one of those games. The Raptors kind of massaging that sort of free trial again with the 2-way contract. Tonight he comes in, real professional, catch and shoot, no problem. Yeah, no problems with Jamison. A nice little front cut as well around Jaime Jaquez Jr., who then tried to fight back, deny his right hand, but guess what? Surprise, he's a left-handed player. That was nice. I thought he had a good game. Davion, I liked his effort. I liked his intensity. I liked the fact that he was yelling at his teammates, trying to get them involved, trying to beat them, get them sort of prodded and sort of to play with the intensity that he did. Wasn't say that he played a perfect game, but knocked down his catch and shoot 3, went aggressively to the basket. Again, Miami didn't have a lot of rim protection most of the game. And I thought he actually looked to attack. That was good. But, like, I don't know. This was just a tough one. Well, I don't know why I'm going play by player. It wasn't exactly like it's one of those kind of games where we got to get everyone's thoughts on everybody. So anyway, Anthony Tolliver. Yeah, shouts to the chat, man. Yeah, DeMar had a crazy dunk on Anthony Tolliver from back in the day that actually tied the game and forced overtime. And then in overtime, he drove it hard to the basket again and kicked it out to Fred for the game-winning 3. And they had a great hug afterwards too. But DeMar had a catalog, man. Like I might have to go watch some DeMar DeRozan dunks to feel better about this game. Obviously, a bit of a frustrating no-show, but not no-show. That's not fair. But it just disorganized basketball, and I feel like the Raptors have not done that for most of the season. So I want them to get back to a higher standard. Like, no matter if you're tanking or not, or you're developing or not, you can't accept this the game like this. Like this was really, really pointless basketball for basically the middle of the second all the way to like the rest of the game. So that's a lot of the game. by the way, if you're here, leave some questions in the comments. Our producer Alex will be looking for those. We will take those in the second half of the program, as always. And of course, if you are watching the stream, just hit the like. I know it's not like a big win. I know that people aren't that excited about this one. So if you are here, just hit the like button for the people who typically would be here. Who decided, what, Raps didn't really give me a good effort in the second half, so I'm not going to tune into the post game. It happens, right? But yeah, for the people who are here, the super loyal ones, just hit that like button because something's got to go right tonight for the team. So we are going to take a quick break here from some of our beloved partners, and when we come back, we will take your questions.
Hey man,
Hey buddy.
just recently hit the big 4-0. What about you, bro?
A little more recently 4-0, but we are both in the 40 club.
Let me tell you, man, being an adult really comes with its share of challenges.
Definitely. I think both you and I are homeowners, and I think we're both also dealing with mortgages in life.
Yeah, man, mortgage rates, choosing the right terms, dealing with paperwork, it can be really overwhelming,
I still don't know how that works.
Well, listen, that's where our friends at Dominion Lending Centers come in, man. They make the whole process simple and stress-free. Whether you're renewing your mortgage, hunting for the best rates, or if you just need advice, they're here to help, bro.
You know what? I am looking for that advice, and I think that's why I'm going to visit www.dominionlending.ca.
Yeah, man, www.dominionlending.ca. Take the guesswork out of your mortgage and step into financial confidence with our friends at Dominion Lending by our side.
Shouts to our friends at Dominion Lending. And now I wanted to let you know as well, before that we get back to the show, we wanted to highlight our friends over at June Plum. They're hosting their Y2K holidays pop-in this weekend and next weekend from December 12th to 15th and December 19th to 22nd. They've teamed up with Community 54 to bring you an exclusive drop of dead stock and limited edition streetwear. There will be new items dropping every day. Bonus, a part of the proceeds will be donated to Cam H. That's a great cause. That's a great idea from great people here between Community 54 and also at June Plum. Also, make sure you drop by and try one of June Plum's signature patties and a curated lineup of cool items in the store, which will be perfect for your last-minute shopping needs. Don't forget, it is the holidays coming right up here. Pull up to June Plum at 796 Dundas Street West and check it out. Now, back to the program. Big shouts to our friends over at Patois and June Plum, because they are the ones that we use. We use their studios all the time, and they're certainly friends of the program. And I've gotten to check out a lot of those pieces. Actually, they're really, really good. So especially if you got people in your life who would appreciate, for example, a nice vintage item, this would be a nice time to sort of pop by. And of course, they also have great food. That goes without saying. Anyway, we are going to take your questions. It is time now for the Tangerine fan inbox. Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of basketball. They're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who have their own nickname for each guy in the starting five, fans who stand 5 inches from the TV all night, or fans who can recreate every player's layup package while sitting on their couch. Love to see some Jakob Poeltl floaters, for example. If you're hearing this, there's no doubt in your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year, for the Raptors' 30th season, Tangerine is turning the spotlight from the court to the stands, celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. All right, Alex, what we got, man? This one from Trash Clips. I get that he got put into the doghouse, but why not sub Chris to see if he can jumpstart the offense after it becomes stagnant? I think to Darko's credit, he did at least talk to Chris. I think when the Raptors Kelly was getting closer and closer, he did go to Chris about a week before Kelly was made available, and he actually talked to him and said, this is a situation, like you're going to be out the rotation again. And especially now thinking back on it, because he was told a week, before that, it felt like Chris's performance in the last week before he ultimately got benched was not strong. But again, I can see how that would affect you mentally. Regardless, Kelly obviously is a guy who the Raptors traded for. The Raptors have re-signed, and despite the fact that he's not gotten off to a great start here and the fact that he had a back injury, certainly a guy that they want as an example of like how to play the right way, how to set up young guys. Last season, for example, the Raptors played really well off of Kelly and what he can do offensively. Chris is a totally different type of player. Chris is a shot in the arm. Chris is a guy who, can obviously be more disruptive offensively, can certainly get you some more rebounds, things like that. Maybe more unpredictable offensively, but certainly a guy who can give you like athleticism going to the basket and, at least some catch and shoot threes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of the pattern all season, though, right? It's the same thing last year as well. Like, Chris wasn't really a part of Darko's plans then, and this year, because of the injuries, he's played more, and I think salute to him. He's played well at times, but he's just back in the road. I guess he's just not there anymore in terms of like in their plans. Raptors are getting healthier. This is what happens. Guys get bumped out of the rotation. At the same time, though, like Kelly did not provide much tonight, so yeah, I could totally see where the switch up could have been. Honestly, like it's tough, man. It's a real tough one tonight. I'd be pissed if I was Chris, though. I'm not gonna lie. But that's just me. Lobby. Yeah, sorry, my man. Question: is there a Chet Holmgren type big in the upcoming draft for the Raptors that piques your interest? So I think I've been interested. Obviously, everyone watches Duke for Cooper Flag, and it's Duke. They've got multiple, pretty good prospects. One of them is Malawak, Kaman Malawak, who is another player who played in the NBA Academy Africa last year as well. Him and Shamshe were actually, I think, roommates or something like that. In any case, they're at least friends. I think they might have been roommates, but regardless. To me, like, again, it depends on where the Raptors land in the draft. Certainly, he's not going to be a guy that goes even past the top 10 picks. I don't feel like he's 7'4". He's, been very efficient. Obviously, a pretty limited diet of shots in terms of like rolling to the basket, but he's got some promise on the three. Certainly, obviously, has a lot more to learn with the game, but is already making a pretty good impact in the collegiate level. Like someone like that, I think would actually really, really help the Raptors, especially long term going forward with this team. We know for sure that the Raptors are not shy with sort of like it's not even that they specifically seek out these type of prospects, but like they have probably a better advantage in scouting African talent than pretty much any other team in the league. I remember maybe 2 seasons ago on the Raptors show, I talked to Sarah Chan, who is their director of global scouting, I think, but especially definitely in Africa. And she kind of like outlined, obviously without giving away sort of like what the Raptors secrets are and sort of the extent, but yeah, I mean they're certainly very well networked, and that has led to them having more information and more confidence in sort of drafting African prospects. And yeah, Malawak is a very, very good prospect, and I think someone that could fit the Raptors long term. Of course, if you're tanking, of course you're probably looking a little higher than that. You're obviously hoping to be in that sort of Cooper conversation, or Dylan Harper certainly got off to a really good start here. Certainly gets to the rim a ton, but yeah, I mean, in terms of bigs, like he's probably a pretty obvious one at the top of the draft. So yeah, Malawak is, well, he's all right. Someone did say he's a project. Like I agree. Like I'm not going to say he's going to walk in here and be like, Tim Duncan coming out of college or anything like that. Like I think there's going to take some time, but I do like a lot of what he provides and what he could potentially provide. Next one, Alex 10 asks, where can I get Will's shirt? So once again, I'm wearing the Raptor Boba hoodie that was made in connection between CCYAA, that's the Canadian Chinese Athletic Youth Association. I might have switched on one of the A's, but they're based here in Toronto, and they're certainly very, very involved in sort of getting kids access to basketball. And in collaboration with Mitchell and Ness, they do a lot of collaborations over the years, and this one is just the Raptors logo with the purple taro boba. It's a great sweater. It's so great that it got sold out like pretty much immediately. But again, I'm sure they will drop more of them, and I would just keep an eye out. Of course, honestly, just I'll certainly reshare their stuff, because like the CCYA has been very helpful to us, and we've always been very happy to help and partner and sponsor and support sort of like what they do as well. So, but yeah, the hoodie is fire, man. Shouts to Mitchell and S and CYA for coming up with this one. Next one from Glenn Sama. Glenn Sama, bro, I needed you, man. Raptors need to start packing garlic, ginseng, or something in their suitcase to keep the injury bug away. Brutal. Yeah, this was. I mean, look, it's not like they got blown out. So it's like you have the alibi of like, okay, they go on the road, they lost by 10. Like, what's the big deal? I'm just telling you, when you watch back this game, it was like I didn't see it. It didn't look like themselves. It didn't even look like their usual bad selves on the road. It was just like meaningless. I honestly, the stuff on the road, like I see a lot of people making the joke about the Miami flu. Like, I mean, come on, we got to at least assume that it wasn't that. It's hard to just pin that on them without any sort of specific knowledge. Um, but at the same time, like it's not. I know it's not that because they've kind of had the same problem kind of across the road, board on the road, whether it's been on the West Coast, whether it's been a long road trip, whether it's been one off on the road. It's just been bad on the road, and a lot of it is like RJ has like those pretty pronounced splits, road and home and away, and of course, if your leading player in a lot of these games is going to be night and day difference, then obviously that's going to lead to the team suffering as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I do agree with Darko in the sense that like they just have to like play their game and be confident. Whether you want to call that swag or not, who cares? Like it's we honestly call it swag, fine. Like, but like tonight there certainly was no swag outside of basically the first 10 minutes of the game. That ain't enough swag, man. Yeah. Well, that's a forgettable game. I'm not gonna lie to you. We run out of questions as well. Producer Alex said, "I'm done with this." He actually told me before the show. He's like, "Wrap this up at a tight 30." And guess what? It wasn't that. So yeah, but the Raptors live to fight another day. I think that again, though, I know they don't. Not having Scottie is like a huge impact. Like seriously, it cannot be overstated. But at the same time, I know the guys that are available to them can play a lot better than they did tonight. And I'm hoping to see that. I'm expecting to see that when they take their next game next week. But finally, to wrap up, I want to hand out the 3 stars and the various other awards on this program. Your 3 stars from tonight. First star, I might give it to Davion. Honestly, I really like what Davion brought. 12 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds for Davion, 4 of 6. One made 3. 3 from the foul line, made an and one at one point. I like the aggression going to the basket. I think more than anything else, I also just I like that he tried picking up the team. Like, it didn't work. And, the rest of the guys maybe didn't necessarily respond in the way that he needed them to. But I at least appreciate the attempt to lead and try to do it, especially for that second unit. Obviously, the Raptors have started Davion a lot this year when Scottie was out. They decided not to do that. They started kind of with RJ at point. I wonder if they'll do that again or, what kind of adjustments they'll make based on this one. Obviously, RJ did not thrive in that sort of point role tonight, but he has in previous games. Regardless, though, I thought Davion played a really good game off the bench. And it's just too bad because, again, the rest of the Raptors didn't play like him. But he played a good game. Your second star get to I'll probably give it to Yak, honestly. Like, Yak did well. I mean, don't look at the minus 18. I mean, a lot of that was just Bam randomly going off. Some of that is on Jakob, obviously, but I didn't think Yak should have played him differently. You know what I mean? It's like, am I expecting him to run out at Bam at the 3-point line? I know Bam's shooting more threes this year, but he's still not a good percentage. I'll still definitely take my odds with that. Like sometimes he gets, a guy goes off for a while. And it's not like Bam's not talented either, but yeah, I thought Jakob and when he especially came off the bench and didn't really seem like he had that much of an issue moving around. One of the first plays, he got knocked to the floor and like slid back and hit the stanchion, popped right back up, looked normal. So hopefully that back's okay and they just continue to treat it because again, he's been awesome this season. But 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block for Jakob, 7 to 12 from the field. One of the funniest plays of this game was the Raptors got an offensive rebound after, I guess it was a shot, but it didn't hit the rim. So offensive rebound with the shot clock resetting. So late shot clock scenario. They kicked it out to Jakob, and Jakob had the wherewithal to do a step back, get his feet behind the line, and try one of his one-handed jumpers. I was crying, man. I wanted that so bad. That would have changed my whole mood. That would legit would have changed my entire mood for this episode. I would have been like, yo, Raps lost, man. But guess what? Jakob Poeltl hit a 3. I gotta look up if Yak's ever made a career 3-pointer. Hold on. I know we were about to wrap the show, but some things are very important in life, and Jakob Poeltl hitting threes is not one of them. But Jakob for his career has never made a 3. Wow, okay. I mean, obviously, no, he has. No, he's got 2 threes. Never mind. Why does his best reference that? He's actually 2 of 5 from 3. Wow. Shouts to Yak. He made one as a Raptor too in 2017-18. I'm gonna have to go find that 1 3 that Jakob made in 2017-18 because that's really impressive to me. I know that like maybe I remember in the draft process, they were actually kind of talking about Yak in terms of like, like obviously he's, kind of your traditional center, but also at the same time, like he's working to extend his range. Like that's something that like, I guess when you're a rookie, like people always sort of like, or a prospect, they always try to like talk you up at the best case possible. That's just part of the experience. But like, yeah, I mean, I remember like they were like maybe, if he continues to stretch his range, he could maybe get a 3 off eventually, and that might be a thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna watch this right now live on the air. Sorry, Alex, man. Let's go to Jakob Poeltl's rookie season. No, it doesn't say he has a 3. Oh, 17-18. He says he made a 3 on Basketball Reference. He says he's 1 of 2, but on NBA stats, it says he didn't take a 3. Oh, this is very disappointing. Really wanted to see Jakob make a 3. And apparently he made another one with San Antonio in 2021. So, regardless. Jakob tried a 3 tonight. He didn't make it, but it would have been cool. It would have been cool. It would have been really cool to see him make a 3. He did a genuine attempt at it. I think, especially again, if this season get weird and meaningless, which honestly, like, I'm hoping at least. I don't mind losing, but losing with purpose. There's a fine line. But if it does get weird and wacky, I would love to see Jakob try some more 3s, man. And entertainment value would be crazy on those. But yeah, he's your second star. Your third star. I'm gonna give it to Jamison Battle. Shouts to Jamison Battle coming off the bench and knocking down 2 threes. Man, salute to Jamison Battle. He's got so many of these like random third stars where I'm like, yeah, he made 2 threes off the bench. Yeah, I just wasn't that impressed by all the other guys. I know Grady had he scored a lot, but he also shot a lot and gave a lot back defensively. So maybe the start of the season I'd be like, wow, look, this is good. But you see it this many times, you're like, all right, like it's got to be some improvements. But regardless, you're Gerald Henderson Award winner. For who torched the Raps. I mean, there's a couple of options you can go with here. Pretty much everybody from Miami played pretty well after, again, their slow start. But it's probably got to be Bam. I mean, not that Bam can't have 21 points, but he really did go on a tear in that fourth quarter and started knocking down threes and, taking Jakob one-on-one. He like crossed him up, dropped Jakob. If he made him fall over at one point. Like Bam's had a tough season, so I guess I'm happy for Bam that he had a decent one tonight. So yeah, good on Bam. He should play like this more often, honestly. It would change a lot for Miami. But Miami's doing decently as is, as they always are. It's just the whole Jimmy Butler weirdness, but they are 13-10. That's actually not a bad record for sort of like their talent and everything that's going for them. So finally, your most important guy from tonight's game, I'm gonna let you know that if you're looking for the ultimate spot to watch the Raptors games and level up your night, you gotta check out Greta on 590 King Street West. This place is next level. Think Mario Kart, Papa Shot, all the classic arcade games that you love. But here's the thing, Greta's not just about the games. It's also the spot for your pregame hype, postgame celebrations, or even just catching every basket, dunk, or buzzer beater with you and your crew. Great food, cold drinks, and a vibe that screams fun. Whenever you're repping the Raptors, you should go to Greta Bar to do that. So that is at 590 King Street West, once again at King of Portland. Your most important guy tonight. Who is your most important guy tonight, man? Do we need a serious one? We might need a serious one. Most important guys, whoever massaged Jakob's back to get him available, because Raptors without Jakob will just be really tough. And it looked to be that the Raptors were going to have that tonight. Fortunately, he was able to make his way back onto the court. And basically after just 2 minutes, poor Bruno Fernando, he's like, oh, I guess I'm starting. All right, cool. But yeah, I mean, he held it down. He got a wide open dunk from I think RJ fed him. But yeah, shouts to the Raptor athletic trainer for giving Jakob a nice massage and making sure that he was available to play, because I don't really want to see Raptors basketball without Jakob Poeltl. He's very, very important. So shouts to the masseuse. Or the masseur. Why do we have so many gendered terms? The massage therapist. There we go. So that does it for the podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. By the way, if you haven't checked it out already, we did a really fun interview with Jack Armstrong earlier this week. So we're excited to have brought that one to you. Obviously, we talked a lot about Raptors topics, like the season Scottie was having and Darko improving and all that kind of stuff. But also at the same time, we talked so much about Jack, the person, and what he's gone through in life, and sort of the life and times of Jack Armstrong. He's always so generous to us. I know he's done a million interviews too. One of my goals for going into the interview was like don't want to get any canned answers from him. I want to get him to sort of like speak openly. And I know he's very warm and open with us already. You could tell that there's this level of familiarity, but at the same time, like, bringing out sort of like a perspective from Jack that like hopefully you didn't see before. And yeah, it was just a really fun time. So if you haven't checked it out already, go watch or go listen to the interview that we did with Jack Armstrong. We'll have another episode coming out tomorrow. If you're listening to this, that will be a Friday. We'll have the score, Cash and Wolf on. They'll come on. They're longtime, obviously, collaborators with us here on the podcast and then the previous iterations of this podcast. And of course, we're also working on more championship reaction podcasts. All cards on the table. This might be part of the reason why I was a little cheesed watching this game, because I was like, the last game I watched before this was Raptors Sixers game 4. And it is just night and day, obviously. But like, yeah, the only thing I saw a lot of was Jimmy Butler tonight, I suppose. But regardless, we'll be working on more of those, of course, to bring you some more good memories from, again, the Raptors start of the season. And this, we're doing a really fun series here with the reaction podcast from 2019. So look out for more of those in the future. But in any case, thanks everyone for listening. I've been your host, Will Liu, and this has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Enjoy a good weekend.